All right, folks, listen up. Last week, President Trump announced that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were going to buy more than $200 billion worth of mortgage bonds. And then I actually saw the next morning on CNBC, the head of the FHFA, well, he says it's actually $225 billion. Now, what does this mean? It means that there's going to be more demand. Now, what does that mean for you? Means cheaper rates. As I'm recording right now, rates are lower than they've been in more than 3 years. And it's free to find out how much money you can save right now. But if you've been on the fence waiting for better rates, this could be the second chance you've been looking for, especially if you bought a house or if you've got an interest rate in the fives. It's not a matter of if we can save you money, but a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at savewithconrad.com. And I'm especially talking to you if you've ran up credit card debt. I know there's been a lot of talk about, can President Trump cap the amount of interest that's paid on credit cards? I don't know. That remains to be seen. But here's what I do know. There's a whole lot of folks who feel stuck making minimum payments at like 22%. You know you can do better than that. If you put Christmas on a credit card, what's it going to be before you actually pay Christmas off? May? June? Stop kicking the can. Keep more of your own money right now. And how's this for starters? No payments for the next 2 months. That's right. You don't have to make a payment in February or in March. You're done until April. And come April, you're going to be saving a whole boatload of cash. Find out how much money you can save for free. $500, $600, $700, $800 a month. Just last week, we helped a family save more than $1,000 a month, and you can start saving cash today. Again, there's no cost, no obligation, and if we can't save you some cash, we won't waste your time. Let us run the numbers, see if it makes sense. If it doesn't, we'll part friends. But we're not the bank. We don't say no, we say not yet, but here's how. We got to get a plan, and we want to be your mortgage advisor for life. You've got a friend in the mortgage business, savewithconrad.com. NMLS number 2129, equal housing lender, savewithconrad.com, or send me an email, conrad@savewithconrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad the Mortgage Guy, and you're listening to 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff. Eric, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm great. I'm in beautiful downtown McDonough, Georgia, just south of the great city of Atlanta. Looking forward to a spectacular weekend. I'm doing great.
In case you missed it, over at adfreeshows.com, we've been promoting something that we call Eric Bischoff's Power Plant. And you might be asking yourself, why is it called that? Well, because you had your chance to get in the ring with Sarge. That's right. The guy who trained everybody at the power plant. He's going to be with us. You'll get to step between the ropes, run the ropes, take some bumps. And we've got a very special guest. One of my favorite things of the weekend, though, is going to happen later tonight as folks are listening to this, Eric. We're doing promo class with Tony Schiavone, Jeff Jarrett, and David Crockett. I brought my TBS set that we used to recreate the old JCP look for Ric Flair's last match. I've got Tony and David Crockett in their JCP Blazers. The big gold belt, yes, the actual big gold belt will be there. And these guys are going to tell you what they think goes into making a great promo. They'll show us some examples, and then fans will have a chance to cut a promo, and it'll be professionally filmed with Tony Schiavone and David Crockett holding the microphone. This is like fantasy camp for wrestling fans. And then, of course, on Saturday, not only do we have the power plant and a live taping of 83 Weeks, but we've also got the Royal Rumble. That's right. We're going to do a watch along. It's the Top Guy Rumble. It's the game event from Efren. And Eric, somebody might win $10,000. How crazy is this?
That sounds awesome. And Efren's so much fun. I mean, Efren is one of those guys, one of those people, when you walk into a room, you can kind of walk in and be in a shitty mood. You know, somebody cuts you off in traffic. You're kind of growling at everybody. And you walk into the room, you see Efren, and within about 30 seconds, you just feel better about life. He's just got a positive energy, and he's really good at what he does. It's very fun to be a part of his show.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see what happens. You know, we've got a big grand prize. I mean, $10,000 is what somebody could walk away with, but everybody's going to walk away having survived Eric Bischoff's power plant. And you're going to give them a little tour of WCW in Atlanta. We've got some special surprises I know you're in the loop on. looking forward to that. JBL is going to debut his brand new podcast. It's called Curtain Jerkers. It's a comedy show. You'll see it before anybody else. You'll see the pilot episodes, but we're going to be filming some in person as well. You'll also see Jeff Jarrett's new documentary before anybody else. We're going to be doing this again soon. You don't want to miss it. Make plans to join us. I wish you were with us this weekend on adfreeshows.com, but Atlanta and Eric Bischoff just kind of go hand in hand, don't they, Eric?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't really excited about moving here, but I was really excited about the job back in 91 or whatever it was. Kind of learned to love Atlanta though. It's so many great memories here. I'm looking forward to, taking a ride through the old neighborhood with DDP and seeing what it looks like and just reliving some of those experiences and memories. Because to be honest, I haven't been back to that house that I lived in down the street from Page since I left in whatever year that was, 2000. So it's been a minute. It'll be fun to kind of revisit memories and places and people. It's going to be a fun weekend.
It is going to be a fun weekend. We're going to finish it off with some live action. If you've been sleeping on it, I want to introduce you to 1FW. That's One Fall Wrestling, owned by QT Marshall. You've probably seen him in AEW or Ring of Honor. He's done a fabulous job. He's got a great group of guys and gals there working their butts off. And somehow, Eric, I found myself becoming the world's worst color commentator, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So
it's all that matters is you have fun. If you have fun, you'll be good. Tell that to people all the time. If announcers have fun, the people listening will have fun. And that's really what it's all about.
I can't wait for you to see some of the great talent that QT's been working with down there. They've got something special, and you can watch it right now for free on Triller. I think he's even posting them on YouTube. So check it out. 1FW. Of course, you guys will be able to see it live this weekend. Of course, what everybody's going to be paying attention to this weekend is the Royal Rumble. We're going to spend a lot of time talking about Royal Rumble. Of course, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about AJ Styles today, a lot of conjecture about that. But one of the things I wanted to ask you right up front, and I feel like I know the answer, Eric, but I feel like once upon a time you gave AEW a shot, and I don't know that you're a regular weekly watcher. So I just got to ask, did you watch last night as we're recording? Did you watch this week's Dynamite? Did you watch last night?
I did not.
I want to challenge you. If you get free time, I know that's not going to happen, but if you did, I think you would have dug last night's episode. It had a lot of elements that you would have really appreciated. It felt like a bit of a paradigm shift. My phone blew up from my wrestling friends, not guys who were in the business, but just guys who like wrestling like I do. And we all kind of agreed, man, that was one of the best Dynamites in a long time. And I almost never do this, but I went out of my way to say, man, this was a fantastic show. And I think it was enough of Sarsa. We saw Tommaso Ciampa. We'll talk about that a little later. There was an unexpected win in the main event, at least by me and a lot of others. But the show went off the air with, an interesting closing scene. It was reminiscent of the way I used to like my Monday night wrestling. I think you would have liked this week's Dynamite, Eric.
I'll go back and look at it. I'm hoping to see improvements. I haven't gone back and watched TNA either, just because I haven't had the time. It's really all that it is. But I love seeing changes and effort and improvement. So I'll check it out.
One of the things I think you'll dig is it feels like the emphasis right now on the program is who's going to win the world title. It feels like everybody's gunning for the world title. And I can say myself as a fan, I like that suspension of disbelief. I want to believe. But listen, let's go ahead and get you pissed off good and early today. Before I went to bed last night, I saw a clip that was kind of going viral yesterday, and I didn't see it until last night when I had a chance to finish with all my work for the day. But I guess Dave Meltzer was chatting with Brian Alvarez about Billy Gunn. I guess Billy Gunn recently did an interview, and I'll admit I didn't watch it. I didn't hear it, but I think he was critical of the younger generation, saying something along the lines of they don't know how to work. Now, of course, I know that pisses a lot of people off and it rubs people the wrong way, but it kind of, I hate to pull my best Bill Clinton, but how do you define work? What does that really mean? And I know that's different for everybody, but I was kind of surprised that I took issue with it and quote tweeted it, and it kind of blew up a little bit. The gist was, though, Dave Meltzer said Billy Gunn on his best day isn't half the wrestler Kyle Fletcher is today. Kyle Fletcher legitimately might be top 5 to 7 in the world, but do you think Billy Gunn was ever in the top 200? He went on from there, but that's really the gist of what he was saying. And that's actually a quote from the Wrestling Observer Twitter account. And they played the clip, which is about a minute long. And I quote tweeted it. And I said, I love Dave's work, but this is just wildly out of pocket. I've never met anybody in the business who talks like this. Saying he wasn't one of your 200 favorites is fair, even if disrespectful. But to say that objectively, based on what metric, put some respect on Billy's name. I was kind of just surprised that a guy who, I mean, I know that you don't hold him in high regard, but I value Dave's opinion and I like his opinion. I want to hear his opinion. I seek his opinion out, but I feel like we're conflating his opinion and fact here. And I don't think that's necessarily fair. Like, by what metric are we saying he's not top 200 and never was? Like, that's just like your opinion, man, to quote the Big Lebowski. Where do you land on that?
Dave's an idiot. Dave is an irrelevant idiot, a social misfit, and completely out of touch. And if there's ever been any doubt as to how out of touch Dave Meltzer is, that comment should take care of it. It's about the business of the wrestling business. Kyle Fletcher couldn't draw flies if he had a main event in a fucking barnyard. He's athletic as hell. And maybe, he has a lot of potential. But to make a statement like that for a guy that literally could walk through the lobby of this Marriott hotel that I'm in McDonough, Georgia, and I would bet you if there's 50 people downstairs right now, 49 of them wouldn't know who he is. And probably would ask him to point them to a good restaurant or come and take care of a mess in their room. It's just the dumbest statement, but it's typical Dave. And, look, he's got his own following of social misfits, just like him. People that really don't have anything going on in their life other than to pretend they know a lot about the wrestling business. And Dave is the king of that. He has convinced everybody, including you, that he's got a unique perspective on the wrestling business, and he really doesn't. He's very knowledgeable about the history of it, but in terms of what makes wrestling work, what makes it successful, what makes people watch, what makes people tune in, he's as clueless as anybody I've ever talked to.
Well, I know you're just trying to make a point, but I want to stand up for Kyle Fletcher. I think Kyle Fletcher is going to be one of the best that ever did it. I think he's got unlimited potential. I totally see him as the top guy, but I don't see the point in comparing two performers. That's the issue I have, is it's like, well, I mean, by doing this, I feel like you just create divide and you diminish a guy. And normally people do this because it's the tribalism of WWE versus AEW. But in this particular case, they both work for AEW. Like, I don't know. It just feels like, do we know exactly, first of all, I think we can all acknowledge the business has changed. The way people work and wrestle and market wrestling is totally different now than it was when Billy first started. But to diminish his Hall of Fame career, because make no doubt about it, I feel like Gunn is a Hall of Famer, and to just immediately say, oh, he wasn't one of the best 200. Says who? Says you and other people. But like, there's no objective. It's not football. You can't compare stats like, oh, well, his completion percentage, blah, blah, blah. That's not a real thing. The only real objective stats is drawing money. And I'm not even trying to have that conversation, but I'm saying everything else about wrestling is just kind of subjective. I'm going to give you an example. When we have the conversation with almost anyone about, hey, who are the best tag teams of all time? Inevitably, we hear some of the same names, whether it's the Road Warriors or the Rock and Roll Express or the Midnight Express or FTR, the Young Bucks, whatever you think. My buddy Cassio Kid would tell you the Bushwhackers. Now, that doesn't mean that his opinion isn't valid. He just really liked the Bushwhackers. It pulled a nostalgia lever for him as a kid. And if there's a Bushwhackers segment on TV today or on YouTube today, he's going to watch it because he likes the Bushwhackers. But that doesn't mean the Bushwhackers are the best in ring or the worst in ring. This is just a matter of opinion. I don't know. I feel like the issue with Dave is when he puts a statement out like that really is just his opinion, but he says it as if it's absolute fact. It creates a bigger problem in dialogue. And I think that if there is any anti-AEW pushback online, I think it's statements like that don't help that. They hurt it.
Listen, I've said this before. I'll say it again. I think Dave Meltzer single-handedly is as responsible for the negativity in AEW as anything that happens in AEW. He's toxic. His opinions, his perspective, the way he covers the business is freaking toxic. And all he does, it's like, if this guy's a fan of something, I'm going to go the other way. That's how bad he is. And if I was Tony Khan, whatever ties there may or may not be to Dave Meltzer, I would sever them. I would keep as much distance as I possibly could, because I really truly believe that Dave Meltzer as an individual is actually hurting that brand because of his platform and because he's such an idiot.
And the thing is, in defense of Dave, I don't even think he knows he's doing it. I think he's oblivious to the fact that he's doing it.
He's a social misfit. He's a misfit. He lives in his basement. He's a social misfit. He's just, hey, he's Dave Meltzer. If people enjoy spending $15 a month to listen to that idiot because they walk around feeling like they know more about a business, have at it. But here's a clue. You don't, because the guy you're listening to is as clueless as anybody that's covering the business today. He has no idea what really makes the wrestling business work. He just thinks he does.
Well, somebody who does have their finger on the pulse right now is MJF. There's been a lot of talk about tribalism. This feels like as good a time of any to point this out. MJF recently took to Twitter and said there's no bad blood between wrestlers and different companies. Quote, as far as Adam Copeland, John Moxley, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, these guys aren't turning around and saying, F that other company. They're not in real life. I'm sorry. They're just looking for a place to hang their hat. And then you have certain guys who feel very passionate about the company they're in, and they would never want to leave. You know, everyone's different. Everyone's looking at professional wrestling different. Some people look at it as, I love professional wrestling, but I love money more, so I'm going to go to this place. Some people care more about the creative side of things and feeling free as both an entertainer, an artist, and a professional athlete. What I will say is there's no bad blood between the boys in the company. It just doesn't exist. And this is from a Rolling Stone interview for Australia. I thought that was spot on. Eric, was that your experience in working in WCW, that even though there was a perceived Monday Night War, the guys didn't really hate each other? They're just,
of course not. Of course not. I mean, that was like the perfect example of that is when DX, invaded what was it, Roanoke or wherever we were when they showed up and crashed the party. It's like, oh man, what would have happened if they would have got in? And it's like, I don't know. They would have probably asked, "Where's the beer? Let's have a couple cold ones." Trust me. The people that are in the professional wrestlers in the professional wrestling business, they all know at some point there's a good chance they're going to be working either in the same company or they'll be working together somewhere down the road. There's not that kind of tribal bullshit heat with talent. It's not in my experience.
All right, real quick, I want to brag a little bit about these new Ultra pouches. I got to admit, a lot of people in my life, they were using the nicotine pouches, but I didn't want nicotine. But man, I wanted to feel that buzz. I wanted that kick. And man, I found it with the Ultra pouches. You see, they are completely nicotine free. They're also caffeine free, and they're packed with nootropics that are designed for mental clarity and enhanced focus. So it gives you the same kick as a nicotine pouch, but without those side effects. You don't get the buzz, you don't get the addiction, you don't get the crash or the jitters, and most of all, you don't get the gum rot. You see, most pouches elevate your cortisol, raise your blood pressure, and keep your body in a constant stress state. But Ultra pouches let you keep your pouches, but give you a cleaner kick. I think you're going to love the flavor, you're going to love the burn, you're going to love the kick, and you don't have to worry about feeling wired at night. I'm a big believer in this product, especially if you've been using those other nicotine pouches. These are completely nicotine free. You see, Ultra pouches have a shorter half-life than caffeine, so they won't disrupt your sleep. They're actually going to take better care of you. Let me explain what I mean. Nicotine will actually disrupt your hormone balance, and that could even lower your testosterone. Yeah, you heard me. Nicotine can literally shrink your balls. But this is great. I'm talking about these Ultra pouches. They're great for pre-workouts. If you're going to feel overstimulated from a regular pre-workout, you're going to love Ultra. It's going to give you a calm, steady flow state. I think you're going to dig it. I really like that I don't have to worry about caffeine raising my resting heart rate at night. It's going to kill my brain's ability to recover and go to sleep and turn off at the end of the night. I don't have any of that with Ultra. I think you're going to dig it. 90% of users saw significant improvements in their overall focus levels. So if you're looking for enhanced memory and smooth energy and a mood balance, man, look no further than Ultra. It's zero nicotine and it's loaded with natural nootropics. It's trusted by top athletes, entrepreneurs, and engineers around the world. Ultra is the ultimate guilt-free pouch, delivering instant focus and mental clarity without nicotine or coffee. New customers can use the code 83weeks to get 15% off at takeultra.com. That's takeultra.com for 15% off with the code 83weeks. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you.
It's time for the Wrestling News Update with Raj Giri.
Well, let's welcome into the program right now the one and only Raj Giri. He's got all the news that's fit to print and a whole lot more. Raj, welcome to the program. What's going on today, man? How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Man, we're excited to be here. It's Royal Rumble week. This is probably my favorite week as a wrestling fan. I know that a lot of wrestling fans really prefer WrestleMania, and don't get me wrong, it's a big deal and it's something to get excited about and yeah. But the anticipation for Royal Rumble is off the charts for me every year. It's the pay-per-view I look forward to the most. What news do you have for us this week about the Royal Rumble?
Well, it's insane, that stadium that they built for this show. Specifically for the show, was built in less than a month. So, I know. I think it was in December when we were talking about Royal Rumble ticket sales, and we were saying how no venue had been announced. Well, now we know why. The the stadium hadn't been erected yet. So. So they built a stadium specifically for the Royal Rumble. They've got these crazy graphics and these giant things bearing the wrestlers' likeness coming in. So I have a feeling this, as far as the spectacle is going to go, is going to be the wildest Royal Rumble that we've ever seen.
Eric, did you see this? They threw together an entire stadium in 3 weeks.
I saw that. It's kind of amazing. I hopefully they've done one of those videos where you can see the whole thing coming together.
Time lapse.
Real fast. Yeah, time lapse. I forgot that phrase. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing. Clearly there's no unions or issues that we face here in the US, because that same building probably would have taken 5 years to complete here.
It is going to be interesting to see how this feels a little different than Raj. For years and years, WWE never seemingly did international pay-per-views. Of course, the most famous one is SummerSlam 1992. In the more recent era, we have seen, respectfully, B shows, backlashes, and things like that, Money in the Bank, take place overseas. But Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, WrestleMania, these are kind of the tentpole events of WWE, and they've always largely been based in North America, certainly some in Canada, but primarily the United States. This is going to be different. The Royal Rumble is in the afternoon. I'm going to be watching, I guess in the Central Time Zone, it's 1 o'clock, and in the Eastern Time Zone, it's 2 o'clock. I know once upon a time, Raj, people made a big deal about that, but this is a different world. It's no longer a pay-per-view model. Now people are going to be, well, I guess it kind of is with ESPN, but the money's guaranteed. What, besides the time difference, what do you expect to be different this weekend with the Royal Rumble?
It's interesting. I feel like since they sold out the tickets so quickly, and since this is in Saudi, it feels like they haven't felt the urge to necessarily hype this pay-per-view up as much, right? Like Brock Lesnar was just announced yesterday on the Pat McAfee show. So as of Monday's Raw, their biggest show, Roman Reigns hadn't been announced. Brock Lesnar hadn't been announced. Again, it happened a day later. CM Punk, we don't know if he's wrestling or not. It seemed like they built a match with him and Finn Balor, but nothing's been announced yet. So if that sense of urgency to really get people to tune in doesn't feel there. But that being said, they're rolling out the big guns. They're doing a lot this week, and it will be interesting to see. I personally love the international pay-per-views when they're on a Saturday and overseas, because it frees your night up. So you watch the pay-per-view during the day, and then you have the rest of the evening to do whatever. So, it's a big thumbs up for me for these international shows.
I agree, Raj. I'm far more likely to check something out if it's happening in the afternoon than I am, planning my day around being up till 11 or 12 o'clock at night watching wrestling. But if it's in the afternoon, I'm far more likely to watch it. And it's interesting how times have changed because, in my day, I hate to even say it that way, but 10, 15, 20 years ago, I don't think anybody would have considered having a pay-per-view on a Saturday afternoon. I think if you would have brought that up in a meeting, you would have gotten kicked out the door. But now it's actually working, and arguably perhaps working better.
I like it when AEW does it. Their international pay-per-views like All In that they've done in Wembley, they obviously do it in the afternoon, and that's when it airs here in America. I thought that was awesome. And this year, of course, or this past year, WWE counter-programmed them with Goldberg's last match and Saturday night's main event. So they bumped the Texas All In to an afternoon start. I thought it was fantastic. It made for a doubleheader, and we're kind of going to get that this weekend. Raj, it was announced that Collision, I guess, is going to be live this weekend. There's a lot of really cool stuff announced, but maybe the thing that people are most excited about is Mark Briscoe defending his TNT title against Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa, we just saw a couple of weeks ago, post some sort of farewell saying that his contract was set to expire soon. I don't think people expected him to see him last night, but we did. We saw Ciampa debut on AEW Dynamite. I guess he's going by the new name Psycho Killer. I saw that was trademarked. Maybe it came out last week or the week before last, but did you expect Ciampa to come right into AEW, or were you shocked by that?
I mean, that's when you get the maximum effect. So it didn't surprise me. You didn't hear rumblings about it, but it didn't surprise me. And as far as him wrestling his first match in AEW this Saturday, I do think they need to do something. The last Saturday's episode of Collision just did an awful number, and that was against Saturday night's main event. This will not be head-to-head with the Royal Rumble. It is on later in the evening after the Royal Rumble airs. But traditionally, when there's a WWE PLE that day, the Collision numbers hurt anyway. But I would think it wouldn't be hurt as much not being head-to-head. Last week, I mean, they did a 0.02 18-49 rating, which is the lowest that they've ever done. And granted, I know we had a new Nielsen system that went into effect in late September, but even barring all that, it's just these are really bad numbers that the show is doing. So I think seeing that rating, Tony knew he needed something big and to load the show up. Otherwise, it was probably gonna do another all-time low.
Raj, I do want to ask you about this. This is something that wasn't necessarily leaked. They did a great job keeping the Ciampa signing a secret. Why do you think it is that everybody and their brother knows that Powerhouse Hobbs is signed with WWE, but nobody knew Ciampa had signed with AEW? Do you want to venture a guess?
I think some people are some reporters might be sworn to secrecy on some things and not so much on others. So that's just my guess. That's what it seems like a lot of these times, because it does seem like usually the spoils, results and returns and things like that are spoiled more on one side than the other.
And maybe some of that is access, it has its privilege. I do want to ask you, Eric, do you remember, because I know at different times you had decent relationships with internet journalists. Did you ever have off the record conversations or a good enough relationship with someone where you could say, hey, now don't spoil the surprise, or off the record here, or anything like that? Did that exist in your time in WCW?
Yes. Mike Johnson is the only person, PW Insider, that I would have off the record conversations with. Certainly wouldn't do that with anybody else. But Mike Johnson, I to this day, in fact, Mike Johnson was the guy that called me the morning that Hulk Hogan died. And he called me because he said, look, I'm not going to report on this because I can't confirm it. That's who Mike Johnson is. But he said, I want you to be aware of this in case it's serious. So here's a guy that could have probably beat everybody to the punch in talking about what was going on with Hulk the day that he died. But he refrained because he couldn't confirm the news. I don't know anybody else that would have done that. So, yeah, Mike Johnson, PW Insider, stand-up guy.
All right, folks, now we've got something completely different just in time for Valentine's Day, here to make us all look good. My friend and yours, Steven Singer. Steven, how are you, man?
Good afternoon. How are you? It's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while, and you look great. And I'm so happy to be back with your listeners and your fans.
Man, I'm excited to have you on. You know, I grew up listening to Howard Stern, and I feel like I knew you long before I actually met you. And I just love that you make us guys look really good just in time for Valentine's Day. Well, what is the hottest gift this Valentine's Day?
Well, for us, there's 3 or 4 items. The number one gift, as you so kindly mentioned, is our new Sunset Rose. And this is, in my opinion, one of the nicest, most unique roses we ever did, because it's what's called an ombre color, where its shade goes from purple, pink, violet, orange, raspberry, all different colors. And the top, you can see, is a little different than the sides, and it looks like a sunset. We took pictures of the sunset in Hawaii, in Jamaica, in St. Thomas, in California, in Florida, and we took these sunset pictures and we tried to replicate it. Your podcast is called 83 Weeks. Well, this took us 83 weeks to get this right. I can't even tell you how long we did it and how many weeks we made this to get it to this thing. And now it's perfect. And these are all made by hand. And not to be funny, but it takes a whole year, 52 weeks to build these. We have 3 factories with artisans. They're all doing this by hand. There's no machines involved with this. This is all done by hand to make all these roses. And to keep a real rose that lasts forever, that has a lifetime guarantee at this price is, I mean, it's awesome. It really is. And if you have kids, you have a wife, you have a sweetheart, a girlfriend, whatever, it's the greatest thing, because I'll ask you a question. Do you know what you got your significant other 6 years ago for her birthday, or for Valentine's Day, or for Christmas? Most likely not. I mean, once in a while you'll know something special, but if you got her a coat, it's in the closet. You know, I mean, if you got her, you know, you went out to dinner, even you went on a trip, you had the memory, but it's gone. You could spend these roses. This particular one is $89, but they start at only $69, and it's out like on your dining room table, in the bedroom, on her desk, in the living room. They have these on display 52 weeks a year, 365 days a year. It always says, "I love you." And it's an easy thing. So for $89, you're a hero, and you get credit for it all year round.
All right, guys, there it is. You're looking at it right now. If you're watching on YouTube, this rose is incredible. I think he's crazy. I understand why the other jewelers hate him. You got to go see for yourself. IHateStevenSinger.com. He's going to make us look good just in time for Valentine's Day. Yes, you can place an order right now. It will make it in time, and he'll do it with free shipping. It's just $89. They even have some more affordable ones, but why not get the sunset one? Everybody loves this. I can't wait for you to see it in person. It's perfect for guys like us. Go check it out. It's a real rose dipped in 24 karat gold. Don't do the florist routine. Those roses are going to wind up in the trash in a few days. But this is something she'll never forget. It's real gold and a real rose for your real love, just in time for Valentine's Day. IHateStevenSinger.com. Eric, I do want to ask you about this booking. I'll admit, as a wrestling fan, I'm a self-admitted Mark Briscoe mark. I think he's one of the most entertaining characters in wrestling. I mean, if I had a promotion, he would be on my short list of guys I would draft. I think that highly of him. I think he can do anything from the silly to the serious. But he's the TNT champ. He's got a little bit of momentum right now. I don't want to see him drop the belt, but at the same time, I don't know if you bring Ciampa in and you establish him as a top guy and you beat him on his first night. Would you have done this? I mean, it is interesting. I think historically AEW has not done super strong if they were in the second position. So meaning if there was a matinee pay-per-view and then they had to go later, whoever goes second, usually wrestling fans have sort of burn out. Whoever's in the second position, I feel like there's just a burnout factor of I can only watch so much wrestling in a day. And I get that. But by putting Ciampa there, it does feel like the AEW diehards, they're going to be there. They want to see his first match in AEW because he's been in WWE for so long. But prior to that, he had such a tear in NXT. And I know that's technically WWE, but you know what I mean. And before that, Ring of Honor. From a booking standpoint, is this a risk to have one of your top guys challenging for a title? Are you damned if you do, damned if you don't, or do you see it differently?
Well, they made a decision. They're going to bring in a new character from WWE, which has historically been a big deal in AEW. if they do anything other than put the belt on him and put him on a rocket right away, they're shooting themselves and him in the foot. It'll be another popcorn fart in church, like all the rest of them have been. So I hopefully, since they've already made the decision, they're going to go with him, go all the way. To do anything else is just stupid.
Raj, I do want to ask you about AJ Styles. You know, Eric and I are going to spend a lot of time on today's show talking about AJ Styles. But earlier today, there was a report that came out that said that AJ had apparently went to trademark his P1 logo for the Phenomenal One logo. And by applying for that trademark himself and not WWE doing it, I think it raised some eyebrows. A friend of a friend, not in the wrestling business, but someone who knows AJ personally, was telling me a couple of weeks ago, yeah, AJ is going to stick around WWE. He's not going anywhere. But we did see him sort of have like an interesting glance on the TNA debut at Frankie Kazarian, and it made me think, hey, maybe they're going for something there. But now with this new revelation today, trademarking the P1 logo, now the people are wondering, hey, is he going out on his own? Is he going to be in AEW? Is he going to work New Japan? Is he going to hit some TNA events? Was this the end of his WWE career, but he's not really retiring? What do you think is up with this? Were you getting mixed messages on the trademark notice, Raj?
Yeah, but I think that's great. And, with Tony Khan, I think, as far as the kind of coups you can still pull, I mean, that would be a pretty big one. Yeah, I mean, if he can get AJ in for one last run in AEW and have him finish his career there, that would show he's back in the fight. It's kind of been like AEW's kind of been getting pummeled by WWE for really years and years, ever since the Punk debacle. And it would kind of show like they're still fighting and they're still there. So I kind of like to see that. Everything AJ has said for years has been like, this is kind of his retirement year. This is when he wants to leave. I mean, I'd love to see him in TNA one more time, since that is where he really became a name. But just my gut tells me that, when he retires, it's WWE, and then he goes on to, work behind the scenes as either a coach or a trainer, or, in that capacity. But I think it would be a great coup if Tony could pull that off.
Hey, so let's talk a little bit about TNA. We've mentioned them a few times. Of course, we did a live reaction show after they debuted on AMC, and we talked about, hey, what to expect in week 2. But now the ratings are in for week 2. You've had a chance to take a look at those. Raj, what were the numbers, and how do you think they did?
Yeah, I was shocked, really. I'm pleasantly surprised. It was 171,000 viewers, so only down 2,000 viewers from the premiere, which did 173,000. And then it did a 0.03, 18 to 49 rating. And that's a rating that, Collision, that's kind of their normal rating. And so second weekend, and it actually beat Collision this past week. Collision did a 0.02, Impact doing a 0.03. Collision did have more viewers with 253,000. But I thought it was a really, before we knew the first week numbers, I'd say this number was okay. But knowing the first week numbers and doing this in week 2, when most shows suffer a big drop, I think is really good. Now, obviously, the lower your audience is, like with any poll, the fewer people you have, the more a fewer number of people mean. And so the less accurate numbers get, the further, the lower your numbers are. But, yeah, if they can stay at this level, I think it's a positive sign. If they hover around that 200,000 mark and then start building and going up from there, I think that's a really good sign.
Eric, what do you think? Now that we know we got our arms around what the number is for TNA, do you think this is going to bode well for them long term? Is it still wait and see? Where are you at now that you know the numbers from week 2?
No, I think this is their starting point. This is their opportunity to grow from here. I was disappointed in the debut. As I'm sitting here, I'm watching television with the sound off. I'm watching Fox News, and they're just running all kinds of promotion for Real American Freestyle. There's actually a special that Fox created for Real American Freestyle called the RAF Best Takedowns. It's available at Fox Nation. I just saw it on the way here. They did a phenomenal job. My point in saying that, other than self-promotion, of course, is that the network is really getting behind us. The fact that AMC hasn't really gotten behind TNA, at least not in a real visible way, is disappointing to me because I think the opportunity is there. I think TNA could be drawing 3, 4, 500,000 people if the network gets behind them, if they do some promotion outside of social media and the AMC network itself. They've got to reach out and tell the world that TNA is there.
Hey man, let's talk about saving some money. Let's talk about Rocket Money. I absolutely love this product and you will too. We've been talking about Rocket Money for a long time because they can help you find those unwanted subscriptions and cancel them for you. But it's a whole lot more than that. Do you ever feel like your money just disappears each month? Well, it is easy to overspend on subscriptions and the impulse buys you see on your phone, or maybe you just order takeout a few times each month. But Rocket Money will help you rein it in and actually give you a report on where your money's really going, and then try to help you make better decisions so you can keep your money in your pocket. You know, managing your finances takes time. Reaching out and canceling old subscriptions, or tracking expenses, or even trying to stick to a budget. But luckily, Rocket Money does all the heavy lifting for you, automatically finding ways to save you money and simplifying the process. You'll have less stress and more free time and a clearer path towards financial freedom, all in one app. Now, most of us know we should take control of our finances, but it's really hard to know where to start. Rocket Money gives you the clarity and confidence to take that first step, helping you cut wasteful spending and take meaningful action towards your financial goals. Rocket Money is the personal finance app that will help you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitor your spending, even help you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. You'll see all of your expenses and your subscriptions in one place, including those pesky subscriptions you forgot about. And if you see one you no longer want, bam, hit the button. Rocket Money will help you cancel it. The dashboard tells you your total financial picture. Yes, you'll get your bill due dates. You'll even get your paydays. It's an easy way to digest what's going on with your money. So if you've got a goal you'd like to save for, Rocket Money can even analyze your accounts to find the best time each month to put that extra money aside. Maybe my favorite feature from Rocket Money, though, they'll try to negotiate to lower your bills for you. You see, the app automatically scans your bills to find opportunities to save and then goes to work to get you better deals. Man, they'll even talk to customer service so you don't have to. You get alerts if your bills increase in price, or even if there's something unusual going on in your account. If you're close to going over your budget, or hey, they'll just give you an attaboy when you've done a good job. Hey, listen up. Rocket Money has saved users over $2.5 billion, including over $880 million in canceled subscriptions alone. Their 10 million members save up to $740 a year when they use all of the app's premium features. Go cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/83weeks today. That's rocketmoney.com/83weeks. rocketmoney.com/83weeks.
JCW Lunacy. New episodes every Thursday night at 7 p.m. on YouTube. For over 25 years, JCW has delivered the very best in pro wrestling entertainment, bringing fans deep storytelling drama, gut-busting comedy, and unbelievable in-ring action. From wild characters to unforgettable rivalries, don't miss a single moment. Tune in every Thursday night at 7 p.m. on YouTube. JCW Lunacy.
Well, we're going to have to keep an eye on it. I'm pulling for TNA and their success. I think all of us sort of agreed on the debut episode, but I'm really pleasantly surprised to hear that so many people stuck around. And I got to think, if AJ is in fact not done this weekend, we're going to see him in TNA, and that feels like that's going to be a shot in the arm. Like, Eric, if you were trying to look for a star who could maybe pop a number for TNA, it's got to be AJ wrestling a match, right?
I think there's, I don't want to presume or make it sound like I know AJ real well, but I know him well enough. I don't see him going to AEW. I don't think he needs the money. He's done really, really well in WWE for a long time. I think if AJ decides he's going to continue to wrestle, he's going to follow his heart, and his heart is probably in TNA. I think the little glance between AJ and Frankie was indicative of what may be to come, and I think that would be more fun for AJ. I just don't know what kind of real fun for lack of any other term, AJ could possibly have an AEW. I could see him going, doing an independent tour internationally, but he kind of already wrote that off, didn't he? In Japan, didn't he say goodbye to the Japanese audience? And
He did, yes.
yeah, kind of make it clear he wasn't planning on coming back. He also said, WWE as well. So maybe there's a Japan run in his future, because I think he would enjoy that. But I really think he's going to end up in TNA. I hope he does, because going to AEW right now is a money play, which is nothing wrong with that at all. It's a good financial decision. I just don't know how rewarding it would be to end your career there.
Raj, let's talk a little more about the Royal Rumble, and then we'll let you get out of here, unless you have anything else. Let's talk about surprises. There's been lots of speculation. Will Chris Jericho be in the Rumble? Will Powerhouse Hobbs be in the Rumble? Will Evil be in the Rumble? Evil, of course, is from New Japan, and his contract recently finished, and New Japan actually released the information that he was not returning to New Japan, and I think everyone just naturally assumes he's going to WWE. Do you have any sense of what the potential spoilers or surprises could be this weekend? Have you heard anything?
Well, I guess these aren't, it's not a surprise. Pat McAfee said he was going to be in. I do think Chris Jericho will be in. The one thing you got to remember about the Saudi audience is most of these fans are WWE fans and not necessarily all are wrestling. So I don't know how much of an impact, how much of a reaction a Powerhouse Hobbs or Evil would get. So I don't know if it's the right spot to do it. But I definitely, I definitely feel like we'll be seeing Chris Jericho there.
I agree. I was kind of like, Chris is interesting because he's so damn smart and he makes good decisions. But I said this several months ago when he started really getting himself in shape and leaning out, because let's be honest, and I like Chris a lot, we're friends, but he started looking pretty dumpy there for a while. And to see him get into the kind of shape that he's in right now, that's got WWE written all over it. I think it'll be a tremendous reaction. It will be exactly what Chris would want, I would imagine, in terms of the way you want to end your career. You want to end your career on the biggest note possible, on the biggest stage possible, in front of as many people as possible. And of course, you want to make a couple bucks in the process. But I think him showing up in Saudi is going to check all those boxes.
Eric, let me ask you about that, because what's interesting is if you go over to the AEW roster page right now, Chris Jericho's listed. Now, I'm not saying that necessarily means anything, but I'm just pointing out that it feels like the very moment that Hobbs gave notice to WWE or AEW and he finished up, man, it was everywhere. Hobbs is finished up and he's expected in WWE imminently. We haven't seen those reports from the quote unquote dirt sheets this time. And I know that Jericho was good at keeping things quiet, but I don't think that Hobbs was picking up the phone and calling everybody. So that almost feels like that information would have been fed to the dirt sheets or the different news sites, whatever you want to call them, directly from AEW. Why wouldn't they be doing that for Jericho now? Why are they? Because by not doing it, you make the surprise even bigger. What's the point in doing that? What's the strategy, Eric? What am I missing?
Speculation, pure speculation. But again, knowing Chris just a little bit, he's a classy guy. He's a pro. My guess is at some point he and Tony had a conversation and Chris explained what he was going to do and why he was going to do it. And he did it professionally and with respect to Tony and with respect to AEW, and probably asked if we could just keep our business between us. And my guess is Tony is going along with that because Chris handled it the way it should be handled. That's just a guess.
Well, shout out to those guys if that's the way it is, because I'll tell you, even though I just asked, hey, what are the surprises this week? I want to be surprised. I think we all want to be surprised. Raj, is there anything else on your docket you want to hit this week?
You know what? I'll just bring up NXT ratings right now, just because ratings across the board have just been so bad. SmackDown, it's been under 1 million viewers for the past 3 weeks. But NXT, the ratings just came out. It did 674,000 viewers. 0.08, 1849. That's what it's kind of been doing. But that 674,000, that's their biggest viewership since October 14th. So a little positive news on the ratings front for wrestling, so I thought I'd bring that up. But yeah, I think that's about it. I think it'll be a really fun weekend, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Raj, we always appreciate you jumping on and chopping it up with us. Tell everybody how they can keep up with what you're doing every week.
Yeah, you can just follow me on Twitter or X at the Raj Giri, and yeah, on here when I pop up. Keep checking it out, and I appreciate it.
No, thank you, man. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you very much. Hey,
Take care.
Eric, let's talk a little bit about the Royal Rumble this weekend. You know, there's a lot more than just the actual Rumble matches, but I just want to briefly run through, some of the odds. But you can bet on wrestling now, which I think is fascinating. And the betting favorite for the last entrant in the Royal Rumble is Chris Jericho at -500. So if you're a betting novice, let me explain that. In order to win $100, you would need to bet $500. That's how confident the internet seems that Jericho is going last. Behind that, it would be Seth Rollins, Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes, but the betting favorite is that number 30 will be Chris Jericho. Now, when it comes to who's going to win the men's Royal Rumble, the overwhelming favorite is Roman Reigns. He's plus 175. So the idea being you would bet $100 to win $175. And then it kind of falls off a cliff after that. Sami Zayn comes in at plus 400, Braun Breaker at plus 450, Cody Rhodes at plus 450, and LA Knight at plus 650. This is all, of course, from betonline.com. I just think that's interesting, though, that we seemingly have Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble. I guess that makes sense in Saudi. Is that the way you would book it, or would you do something different?
I'm not sure. It's kind of a challenge because you're booking for the live crowd, which, as you pointed out, it's a different crowd. It's a different audience. This is why I think Chris is such a shoe-in for Saudi and why it's going to work so well if he does show up, because that Saudi audience is probably more interested in all things that were WWE 15 years ago than necessarily they are with what's going on today. At least that was the case a few years ago. They like the legends. They like the older talent. I think I told you this story. When I was there back in 2019, the Saudis were asking for people that had passed away 6-7 years ago. So they weren't really in real time, so to speak. Now that perhaps has changed as WWE has become more consistent in Saudi. But I do think the reaction that they would get with Chris is going to be great. The part of me that, from a creative point of view, that I'd have to, no pun intended, wrestle with is it's such a great opportunity to really get somebody over, because the crowd is going to be the spectacle, as you had talked about earlier, is going to be phenomenal. And if you really want to elevate somebody, the match is obviously important. The opponent is important. The story is important. But the backdrop, the scene, is also very important. And if it were me, without knowing what's going on creatively necessarily in WWE, just looking at the names that you rattled off, man, I'd put it on. I don't know. It's tough. I hate to speculate like this. Braun Breaker, I get the guy over. Get somebody over. Does Roman need that? Is Roman going to get any more over with a win at Royal Rumble? Probably not. Now, could it lead to WrestleMania? Is it part of a story? And Saudi's more or less a stepping stone creatively? Then it might make sense. But give me somebody fresh and new. It's time. We need somebody fresh and new to be at the top of the pile.
All right, man, let's talk about our kids and let's talk about money. When I was a kid, I thought you could just write an IOU. Turns out that's not really the way money works. I wish back then that we had Cash App cards. I'm going to get both of my girls Cash App cards. Hey, listen up. If you're a parent of a teenager out there, we already know that, man, you're juggling a lot of flaming chainsaws right now. You're trying to keep all these different things under control. But Cash App is here to make sure that your teen's money and their spending doesn't add to your stress or craziness. You see, Cash App is designed to meet teens age 13 to 17 where they are with intuitive educational tools. This is available through sponsorship by an eligible parent or guardian, but this way teens will gain access to personalized Cash App cards that come in different colors and patterns to fit their style, but more importantly, the ability to instantly access money from family or friends. You see, Cash App makes managing money feel easier, and honestly, it's just cooler than a lot of the other options out there. The platform also has tools that helps teens develop real-world financial habits in a space that's safe to navigate, all with your oversight and approval, of course. If your teen is getting their first job, Cash App can even give them access to their paychecks up to 2 days early and help them achieve personalized savings goals that they can set themselves within the app. I love that. With Cash App, these tools become something they actually want to use because these were designed with teens in mind. Finally, no one wants unnecessary surprises. With Cash App, buddy, there's no monthly fees. There's no minimum balance requirements. There's no hidden charges when sending or receiving money. And with the Cash App card, you and your teen's balances receive 24/7 fraud monitoring. And if something ever feels off, you have the ability to lock their card right from your phone in just one tap. So skip the stress and give your teens a way to learn financial responsibility with no hidden fees. Download the Cash App and get started today. For a limited time, new Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use the code FAMILY10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Direct deposit and promotions provided by Cash App, a Block 8 brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. Well, and make no mistake, the Royal Rumble won't be their last chance. Coming up right after that, February 28th. So what, like just 4 weeks almost to the day, you'll see Elimination Chamber coming to us from Chicago. And the winner of the men's Elimination Chamber and the women's will also get title shots. So we know we've got 2 big belts lined up. And I guess Royal Rumble will decide one title shot and Elimination Chamber decides the other title shot. What I'm perhaps most excited about this weekend with the Royal Rumble is there's stakes for all the matches. You know, we've got the women's Royal Rumble, we've got the men's Royal Rumble, a lot of intrigue in both of those. But when it comes to the other matches, Drew McIntyre defending his title against Sami Zayn in Saudi Arabia, a place where a lot of people thought they'd never see Sami Zayn. I think that could be really, really interesting because hypothetically, and I even listed him earlier, if Drew were to beat Sami Zayn and it looks like, oh, he lost his chance to the world title, it's not going to happen. What if he gets in the Rumble and he earns another shot? So if you let the fans down, but then he goes in the Rumble, he wins another shot. Man, I think that would be a really feel good moment in Saudi Arabia. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I agree with you. It is intriguing. There's a lot of interesting possibilities there.
And maybe that's what I like most about the Gunther AJ Styles match. As a reminder, there's a lot of stakes here. Now, Gunther is laid out. If he wins, AJ has to retire. AJ's putting his career on the line. However, if AJ wins, he gets Gunther's spot in the Royal Rumble. So hear me out. What if AJ somehow wins, gets a shot in the Rumble, wins that, and then goes on to main event his first and last WrestleMania? That could be fucking awesome to me.
I mean, that kind of stuff is fun. I mean, the audience would rally around that. That's a fun idea that could actually work quite well. And it's interesting that, you know, all these trademark moves, because the internet, you know, loves keeping track of that stuff. That could just be a red herring. I mean, if you really want to, you know, kayfabe the audience, you really want to add to the surprise, make everybody think you're going in one direction and go in a different direction without it ever happening even on the show. All of this is just speculation in social media because of a trademark application. Perhaps that's just part of the promotion. It'll be interesting to see.
Unreal season 3. I mean, season 2 was the ruse of the century with Seth Rollins not really being injured. As soon as I saw the P1 logo, I was like, wait a minute. There's no way WWE is letting him have that. Now, maybe they are, but I, just like you, thought this is part of Unreal Season 3. He's going to keep it going. And I think it would be really cool if he does finish up at WrestleMania. I'm not ready for AJ to wrestle his last match, but that's certainly the way people have been talking. that, hey, we saw him wrestle his last match on Monday Night Raw. And if this really was it, then it does feel like it's a totally different approach to a farewell tour. With John Cena, we knew well in advance and we got to appreciate it every step of the way. We had some phenomenal matches over this last year with AJ Styles. I just don't think any of us knew until recently, wait a minute, we've been watching his retirement tour and we didn't even realize it. So I wanted to spend some time and talk about AJ with you. You know, at this point, I think it's a well-worn stat that people have heard and are familiar with. But he's actually had more matches in WWE than he had in TNA and New Japan combined. But try as I might, I still don't think of AJ as a WWE guy. I still think of him as a TNA guy. Do you think of him as more of a WWE guy or a TNA guy, Eric?
He's a TNA guy to me, and that's just because that's where I first met him, and that's, he spent a long time there. He was really the face of that company. He was that company's identity, and he'll always be that company's identity in my mind, even though he's had more matches in WWE.
I know that a lot of people say that he is his generation's Shawn Michaels. And I think that's probably hard to argue. I heard Jim Ross famously say he's never seen Shawn Michaels botch. I think a lot of people who grew up watching AJ would say the same thing. AJ could make almost any match or any scenario better. But in the same way that so many people would say that Ric Flair was synonymous with Jim Crockett Promotions and Hulk Hogan was synonymous with the WWF, I kind of feel like AJ's that guy for TNA even now, don't you?
I do, which is why, again, I think as far as AJ's career going forward, regardless of what happens in WWE at the Rumble, I still think there's a chance that we're going to see the rest of the year play out with AJ in WWE. But if I'm wrong, which I could easily be, then I think, like I said earlier, I think TNA is where AJ would be headed, because that's where his heart would be. He also feels, I think, something special for TNA, even though he's been in WWE for as long as he has. He'll always have a soft spot there. And there's guys there that he could work with and have fun with. That's the other part of it.
What I love about this is they've done a good job keeping things quiet. We don't know that Hobbs is going to be there this weekend. We don't know that Chris Jericho is going to be there this weekend. We don't know where this Sami Zayn and AJ Styles stories are taking us, but I'm excited. This may be the most anticipated wrestling pay-per-view for me in quite a while.
But isn't it fun not knowing? Isn't it fun having all those possibilities? Because you're going to tune in just to see if you were right, if your instincts were right, or that's the way wrestling should be. That's how it's most enjoyable, is when you don't know and you don't have all the information sitting in front of you in a freaking dirt sheet just so you can pick it apart. It's going to be a fun weekend. I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to drop in and check it out.
We've seen a rush of promotion on ESPN. You heard earlier, Raj Giri announced that Brock Lesnar just declared he was going in the Royal Rumble right on ESPN on Pat McAfee's show, which is cool. But Triple H was on Get Up on ESPN, and he says this year is going to be no different. There's a lot of surprises in store, but also it's one of the most star-studded Rumbles that I can recall. I think everybody is looking forward to this. I think we'll see some NXT fans or folks. I think we'll see some AAA folks and lots of new debuts and maybe a couple of callbacks. I'm excited to see what that looks like, but we've talked about who may win the thing, who may not win the other thing. The big other stat that people are going to brag about is who has the most eliminations. So yeah, I guess there's a well-worn cliche in wrestling. It's not who goes over, but who gets over. Well, the other, besides winning the thing, the two other ways to get over with the audience are who lasted the longest and who had the most eliminations. So let's focus on eliminations. You mentioned earlier Braun Breaker, maybe Braun or Bronson Reed or perhaps Obafemi. Who do you think will have the most eliminations this weekend, Eric, if you had to guess?
Braun. No, the Obafemi, is that his name?
Yes.
I've seen social media on him. Absolutely impressive. So that could surprise a lot of people, but I think it's Braun. It would make sense to me. Logically, it would be Braun.
I got to tell you too, I'm not sure what to expect, but the Women's Royal Rumble, Saudi Arabia, it's a different culture, different expectations. they're going to have 30 women, and I think they all may be dressed a little differently than we're used to seeing them here in America. It's going to be a little weird, but it's going to be interesting to say the least.
Yeah, there's not going to be any. There ain't going to be any sizzle on that steak. That's for sure.
Let's spend just a minute and talk about Nakamura. I don't know if you had a chance to see his phenomenal match with AJ Styles. It was last weekend on Saturday night's main event. I thought it was one of the better Nakamura matches we've seen in a long time. For whatever reason, it appears he's fallen out of favor with WWE. He just hasn't been as featured. But perhaps as a request to AJ, he wanted to wrestle him. I thought it was great. They had some fun homages to their previous matches. But Nakamura took to social media and posted a really long, heartfelt message about AJ. And again, this is why I think this has got to be part of the Unreal thing. This has got to be a swerve, because Nakamura wrote, I asked him, when are you going to retire? And he answered, the Royal Rumble. I've already decided. And that was posted a week before the doggone event. So to me, it just feels like you're not going to have one of your promoters. You're not going to have him come out, one of your performers come out and spoil a big story like that, unless they're intentionally planting the seed, don't you think?
I am hoping.
Me too.
I am so hoping that's the case.
We're all staying tuned to see what's going on with AJ and what's going to happen this weekend. I think this is one of the more anticipated pay-per-views in recent memory. But one of the things that I think we glossed over today is the ticket queue. You know, when tickets first went on sale for this, we know it was almost an immediate sellout. But if you'll recall, back when the tickets first went on sale, me, you, and Raj were all chatting here that there were like 800,000 people in the queue or something. Now, I'm sure there's got to be a lot of bots and all that. But that to me feels like, especially when you look at the financial commitment that Saudi made, where they built a fucking stadium just for this one show. Like, we're going to see this. I know for a lot of fans online who are saying, oh, this is an American thing. They're taking it from us. They're ruining it. They shouldn't be doing this. I think this is the new norm. If you got that sort of ticket demand and they're willing to build a freaking stadium, you know, the rights are out of this world. I think this is the new way. This is sort of getting us ready for the Saudi WrestleMania next year. Don't you think?
It's so interesting. If you and I could imagine 10 years ago, sitting down over a beer and a pizza and talking about what wrestling could look like in the future, if either one of us would have suggested, yeah, but I think someday a country is going to want WWE so badly, they're going to build a stadium just to showcase a WWE event, we would think we were both nuts. It wouldn't have made any sense to us. But here we are. Saudi Arabia built a stadium for an event in 3 weeks, which is even crazier. It just shows you how far it's come. And there's always going to be that feeling of, you know, these big PLEs shouldn't take place outside of the country. They should be here in the United States for the U.S. fan base. And I get that. But I'm so excited to see how WWE in particular, but you know, AEW as well, and other promotions are doing so well internationally. It makes my heart feel good. Puts a smile on my face.
Eric, I know we can't play the clip here, but since we've been recording, I ran across something that just tickled me. So I'll have Silva throw up some pictures and posts. But 25 years ago today, as you and I are recording, something crazy happened. AJ Styles made his WCW television debut. And he wasn't as an in-ring performer. There was a skit where DDP was signing autographs on his new book, Positively Page. And there's a really obnoxious wrestling fan there waiting in line to meet DDP. That is a young AJ Styles before we ever knew it. I'll be honest. I knew that he and Air Paris had a couple of matches right at the very tail end of WCW in 2001. I did not realize that he debuted as a fan in a DDP skit. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
That's super fun. I love the full circle. And speaking of full circle, this past week we saw that there's been a decision made. 2K is going back to the Monday Night Wars, and you're on the freaking cover representing all of the WCW folks. I just think it's cool that the Monday Night Wars are now taking over the damn thing. And I mean, 2K was such a big deal for a lot of wrestling fans when they were growing up. And like my daughter grew up playing it and all that. But I think it's really interesting that on the WWE side of things, you've got Stone Cold, you've got The Rock, you've got The Undertaker, you've got Triple H, you've got Kurt Angle. And I'll admit, I was surprised they threw China on there. But on the WCW side of things, there's Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Goldberg, Booker T, and Eric Bischoff. Randy Savage nowhere on here. Ric Flair's not on there. Sting's not on there. We understand that. They're under contract somewhere else. But what a cool little tip of the cap that is for you. Vince McMahon's not on this thing, but Eric Bischoff is. Did you know this was coming? And what was your reaction when you saw, I'm on the cover of the fucking video game?
I didn't know it was coming. Nobody called and gave me a heads up. And I just thought, well, can't wait to see that next quarterly check. It'd be awesome. Don't mean to make light of it. It's a cool thing to have that period of time still so prominent in the marketplace and doing so well. Let's face it, WWE wouldn't have put that out if they weren't convinced that it was going to sell a lot of product. And the fact that the Monday Night Wars, because it really was such a pivot point, I think in wrestling, it changed so much. I've said it before. I'm going to say it probably every time we do one of these shows and talk about this type of thing. Had it not been for the Monday Night Wars, I don't think we'd be watching the WWE that we're watching today, because it turned WWE's business around. They were flailing. They were losing money. They were hemorrhaging money. They were taking the water coolers out of the office because they couldn't afford to service them any longer. And then Vince McMahon made the decision to abandon his teen and preteen formula and follow in Nitro's footsteps and go after the 18 to 49-year-old audience. And that blew WWE up. Had it not been for the Monday Night Wars, had it not been for the financial pressure that WCW put on WWE, I can't imagine anybody really believing that Vince McMahon would have decided on his own to abandon the formula that worked for him so well for so long and go after the 18 to 49-year-old demo. I think the Monday Night Wars changed the rest. This is, everybody says this. It's become meaningless because everybody takes credit for it. But I really do think that the Monday Night Wars in particular changed wrestling for the better, and WWE in particular is a company that exists today that's entirely different than the company that would have existed had there not been a Monday Night Wars and a WCW Nitro.
I can't wait to see what this game looks like. I hope that means we're going to double down and we're going to see some cool Nitro sets and some cool Thunder sets and some cool Eric Bischoff and Eazy-E. Maybe they'll have you in your crown and your motorcycle. It's going to be
they're going to have me get my ass kicked. I guarantee it. I'll be taking bumps. I'll be getting embarrassed. I'll be all kinds of fun. None of the cool shit will be in there. I sincerely doubt me calling out Vince McMahon is going to be in there, but you never know. I think the butthurt factor, I think that's probably finally, after all these years, gone away. So maybe, who knows?
I got to tell you, it would be fun to play as Kevin Nash and powerbomb your ass off the stage. That'd be fun.
Yeah, would be fun. Glad I did it. Wouldn't want to do it again, but glad I did it then.
All right, so by now you've heard Eric bragging about Signos. If you've taken a look at Eric lately, he's in better shape than ever, and he gives a ton of the credit to Signos. A lot of us, we read things and we learn some best practices and we see what people are saying on social media and, oh, here's what you should do to get control of your weight, and here's how you can feel better. What if you had real-time insights into what's happening in your body? Signos is making it happen. What you do is you're going to use a continuous glucose monitor, and it's going to pair with their AI app. We're talking Signos. And now we've got an idea of exactly how our body responds to all of our decisions. Do we sleep differently? Do we exercise differently? Do we feel tired and lack energy based on the food we're eating? You're going to get real-time, almost immediate impact. You see, when you eat the wrong carbs for your body, your blood sugar rises. So your body releases insulin to shudder that sugar into the cells for energy in the form of fat. Now, too much of this over time leads to weight gain, and for some, insulin resistance, and that makes it even harder to lose weight. And it turns out like 88% of Americans are now classified as metabolically unhealthy. I want you to try Signos. I think you're going to love it. You're going to learn a lot about your different eating habits and things that you thought were good for you. Maybe they weren't so good for you personally. Everybody is different. And this is the first time you'll have real-time insights into what's going on in your body. I think you'll sleep better. I think you'll feel better. I think you'll have more energy. And it won't feel like you're sacrificing. It's not a crash diet. You're just learning what works best with your body. All of our bodies are unique. And the idea that you get real-time insights, really cool. By the way, the key features include incorporating exercise. Signos will say, hey man, you need to move around a little bit. Let's get some more steps. Or, hey, maybe try going to bed a little earlier tonight. Whatever's going on in your body, you're going to get that real-time insight. There's also a really cool community inside the app on Signos. You get personalized tips and insights, but most importantly, the idea that you've got access to a dietitian and a community of other people who are learning about their body, man, it really is cool. I hope you'll check it out. You know, as humans, we all make about 227 different food decisions a day, but imagine how much easier that would be if those decisions could be personalized with data guiding you. It's your data. I'm a big believer in this. I want you to claim your fresh start with Signos. Right now, Signos has an exclusive offer for all of our listeners. Go to Signos.com, that's Signos.com, and get 25% off select plans when you use the code 83weeks. That's Signos.com. The promo code is 83weeks, and you'll get 25% off select plans today. Take a look at Eric Bischoff. It works. It's easy. It's Signos. Use that promo code 83weeks. Well, somebody who's maybe thinking about getting in the wrestling business, we touched on last week, and I was surprised. Some of my non-wrestling friends pointed out that Westside Gunn made a post about our show on 83 Weeks last week, where we talked about the possibility of him buying TNA. He made a post. He says, I'm buying TNA. That's the rumor. Last year when we started throwing fourth rope shows, it was the biggest challenge ever of my career, but also the most fun I've ever had. I've met some of the best talent in the world who believe in the culture and vision and have been putting it out there with blood, sweat, and tears, making our shows legendary. I've studied every big match sitting front row for the past decade and created a whole new wave of energy for those who fell out of love for it or simply never watched. Every show we've thrown has been full of energy, the best merch, the best atmosphere, and we only believe in the forbidden door. You never know who's going to face who. I never believed in numbers and always cared for the art, the culture, and the message. And I truly believe the money will then come. Who cares who's 1, 2, 3? Who cares who did it first? Just do you and love it. I know what I can do and can't do as well, but I know I could bring an energy that TNA hasn't had in a long time. But in the meantime, Fourth Rope is about to show why we're top 5 promotions in just 1 year. Man, I got to tell you, we talked about this last week. I'm really excited about the idea of Westside Gunn sort of converging hip hop and wrestling together. That could be super fun for TNA. But in the meantime, I'm going to check out some Fourth Rope shows. What say you, Eric?
Absolutely. I mean, he's passionate and he's smart. He understands the entertainment business. He's got great relationships in the entertainment business. And I think his take on developing a promotion for the culture, so to speak, is right on the money. I'm shocked somebody hasn't done it yet, to be very honest with you. And maybe Westside's the guy to do it. I hope he is. He's cool dude.
I don't know that you saw the reports, but I guess there were some reports that Sting has been working dark matches for AEW. So I don't think they're being filmed, and if they are, they're not posted anywhere. But Sting's son is maybe following in his footsteps, getting some reps in before the cameras go live in AEW. What do you think about that? I mean, this is kind of cool. You know, we've seen Ric Flair's daughter obviously pursue wrestling, and I think people wondered once upon a time, would Nick Hogan get in there? But now the son of Sting is going to be there. What do you think about little Stinger?
I'm excited for Steve Sr., Steve Jr., or Sting Sr., Sting Jr. It's a lot of pressure, though. I mean, I have mixed emotions about it. There's going to be, first of all, there's so much pressure on anybody that's going to step into this world and go out there and perform in your underwear. It's just, it's a lot. But when your dad is Sting, that's a whole different level of pressure, different kind of pressure. So I don't envy either one of them, the pressure that they're both going to be under and the anxiety to a degree. But I am happy to see, it just makes you feel good to see a father and a son, our son following in his father's footsteps, so to speak, particularly in something as unique as professional wrestling. So I'm hoping for the absolute best and for both of them, actually. But a little nervous for them both, too.
Me too, man. I hope it works out. I know the pressure has got to be just immense. And we've actually got a live question here that I wanted to ask you about. This is something I never even considered. We were talking a moment ago about the new WWE 2K game. Did you ever think there would be a day where you would be in a WWE video game, but Vince McMahon would not?
No, that's bizarre, isn't it?
It's weird.
I mean, I thought about, I was at WWE. I was in the summertime, August sometime. I went there to shoot some stuff. Can't remember who it was for anymore. A&E, I think. And I remember walking into the new office. It was the first time I'd been in the new offices. And I walked in there and I'm looking around. I was so impressed with just the facility itself. It's kind of overwhelmingly cool. And the thought occurred to me that how bizarre is it that I'm welcome into WCW headquarters, and presumably it's probably a bigger issue for Vince just to go walking through the door right now. So it is weird. It's unfortunate. I don't take any joy in it, but it is odd when you think about it.
Well, we're all thinking about this weekend in Atlanta. I wish you guys were joining us. I can't tell you how fired up I am for Power Plant or your tour of Atlanta or promo class. And of course the game event. Somebody could win $10,000 this weekend. Make plans to join us at our next event. We're going to announce it this coming weekend, when and where our next one will be. We've got a lot of fun stuff planned. We hope that you'll make plans to join us. Eric, we get together with our family over at Ad Free Shows a couple times a year, and they've always been can't miss events. Like, I know that, everybody hates travel and all that jazz, but getting together like this, it kind of almost feels like a little half-ass family reunion of sorts, don't you think?
It is. And I get the same vibe. Unfortunately, Lori isn't with me. Mrs. B isn't here on this trip. She's in Tampa with our grandson. So I'm going to miss her being here. She's as much a part of the Ad Free Shows experience as anybody else. She has fun doing it, but it is a little bit like a, annual kind of a family reunion. We've always talked about our Ad Free Shows family, and they have been. We've made some great friends, long-term friends, people that we associate with away from, wrestling related events. So I really am looking forward to it. I fall into that category. I hate travel. I'd rather chew off my leg than get in a plane and go somewhere. But once I get there, I have a blast. And I plan on having a blast this weekend.
Let me just go ahead and tell you now, it's a bad day to be a light beer in McDonough, Georgia. If you've never seen Eric Bischoff go to work, buddy, I can't wait. We're going to have a blast. We hope you'll make plans to join us next time. We're going to talk about the Royal Rumble. We'll even have some clips from this weekend, and we've got some really fun stuff in store. We're going to be filming some stuff, and I don't want to give any spoilers just yet, but to say that we've got some really fun curveballs coming up in the coming weeks here on the podcast will be an understatement. Don't you agree, Eric?
I do. And you know what I think? I'm hesitant, but I'm thinking, I've never learned how to do a flat back bump. I've never learned. Nobody's ever taught me how to take any kind of a bump. I've just said, sure, I'll do that, and gone out and done it and hope for the best. Most of the time that's worked out okay. But I think it's time at this stage of my life, I should learn how to do a flat back bump. And if anybody can teach me, it'd be Sarge. So maybe we'll get that on tape. Depends how bad it is.
Just so I'm clear, did I just hear you sign up to take your very first bump or first trained flat back bump at 70 years old?
Yeah, I'll do that.
I love Eric Bischoff, and I can't wait for us to talk about, hey, if Eric lives, we'll be back next week right here on 83 Weeks. Turn on the notifications bell, and if he doesn't, we'll put Silva in a wig and we'll do our best. But we greatly appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I hope you can tell how excited we are about our weekend and specifically the Royal Rumble. It's going to be a blast. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan. I hope you'll check out Collision as well. Want to give a cheap plug since we've been recording. I just saw that it's official now. Kazuchika Okada, arguably one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, is going to be wrestling my great close personal friend, Adam Priest, in Adam's first title shot in AEW live on Collision the same night that Tommaso Ciampa is wrestling Mark Briscoe. This is going to be fun, man. I don't know that you've had a chance to hang out with Adam much, but the idea that he's wrestling one of the biggest stars in the history of New Japan Pro Wrestling for a title on AEW, man, I'm fired up for this weekend. I can't wait.
That's going to be fun. It'll be fun watching it with you guys too. So I'm looking forward to it.
We love watching wrestling with you guys. We love talking wrestling with you guys, and we'll do more of it next week right here on 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff.